Okay, welcome back to Gary's Economics. Today we are going to update our predictions for interest rates and house prices. Okay, so this video is in response to popular demand and also to, pretty big changes that have happened in the last month with regards to interest rates and house prices. So I put out my last video on interest rates probably about 5 or 6 months ago. And generally, the predictions I've been making on this channel are that before too long, within a sort of a year or so, inflation will start to come down, interest rates will start to come down, and that house prices will stay high and get higher. Now, a few things have happened in the last couple of months that have potentially changed the outlook on this front. So the big thing that happened was obviously we had the crisis with energy prices, and the government responded by giving out another £150 billion and also giving a massive tax cut to richer people. When I saw that was happening, I was very concerned. We've got another video specifically about that, which is, I think, called Why Liz Truss's Energy Plan Won't Work. So if you've watched this channel from the start, you will know, in my opinion, the main cause for the inflation that we're seeing now and have been seeing for about a year now is the huge amount of money that was given out by the government during COVID, which largely ended up going to rich people. It was £600 billion, that's £12,000 per person, but it almost went exclusively to richer people, so they're accumulating 100, 200 grand each. So I believe that the inflation was caused by that money being given out. That caused the cost of living crisis for ordinary people. And the government is responding by giving out another £150 billion, which in this case, largely is going directly to energy companies and also tax cuts for richer people. So you can see why I think I'm concerned about this policy, because they gave out a ton of money to rich people. That caused inflation and a cost of living crisis. And they're trying to deal with that by giving another ton of money to rich people. So when that happened, I looked at that and I thought, there's potential here for a kind of an inflationary spiral, because it is not being largely understood that the government giving out money is inflationary, and that if that money goes primarily to rich people, it causes a cost of living crisis for ordinary people. So you could get in a spiral where they give out money, that causes a cost of living crisis. They respond to that by giving out more money, which goes to rich people, which causes a worsening cost of living crisis. They give out more money, and you could see inflation spiraling and interest rates going up alongside that, because the Bank of England basically has to respond to rising inflation. And at the same time, living standards decreasing. So I was very worried about that. So I put a trade on where I basically put a big bet on interest rates rising. So I wanted to let you guys know that I did that. What happened after that was that essentially financial markets refused to allow the government to fully implement their spending plan. In particular, they kind of forced a U-turn on the tax cuts for richer people. That is good. Obviously, I don't think anyone will be surprised to hear that. I'm happy about that. But the government is still running a massive deficit, and there still is potential that that will keep inflation higher going forward. Because of the prospects of higher inflation, financial markets expect the Bank of England to raise rates much more aggressively. So at the moment, financial markets expect that the Bank of England base rate will go up to something like 5.5%. That's very volatile. This video might not go out for a week and a half or so, so it might have changed by then. I'll probably post on my Twitter when it goes up. If interest rates do go up to 5.5%, then that will mean mortgage rates going up to sort of, 7.5% for people with lower deposits. You could easily be talking about 10% mortgages. So if that were to happen, that would massively affect people who have mortgages, much bigger costs monthly, and people who are trying to get mortgages may well basically not be able to get a home at all. Lots and lots of people are worried about that. People want to know what to do with regards to fixing mortgages or floating mortgages. People also want to know what's going to happen to house prices. So I think we need to basically sit down and deal with these things one at a time. So the first thing is, what are the prospects for your mortgage? So interest rates are almost certain to go up in the next sort of 6 months to significantly higher levels. If you have a mortgage which is the fixed rate is expiring or trying to get a mortgage now, there's basically no way you can avoid having to pay much higher interest rate payments. I think when we say that, it's important that people realize at the same time as this is happening, the government has given a huge amount of cash to rich people. So there is a small chunk of society that is basically trying to buy houses without needing a mortgage. So you are competing with these people who don't have to pay mortgages, which will make it much more difficult for ordinary people to buy houses. If you have a mortgage, there's basically nothing you can do to protect yourself in the short term. You can take a fix, you can take a 2-year fix, a 5-year fix, even a 10-year fix. All you're going to be doing is locking in those high rates. Will those rates stay high for longer? So I think that very much depends on what we see from governments. If governments move into this space of constantly running massive deficits in response to every crisis, then we will probably get an inflationary crisis that goes on longer, and that means rates might stay higher for a lot longer. Because financial markets basically refuse to allow the government to run a very large deficit, it's quite possible that we won't end up going that way, in which case we'll probably move towards a more austerity, light, something more like we saw after 2008, in which case the government tries to slash the amount of money it gives to councils, NHS, education, welfare payments. And if that happens, you will see a real squeezing of living standards for especially poorer people, but also people in the middle. That will really starve the ability to spend of ordinary families. And then you probably see inflation come down quite quickly and interest rates come down quite quickly, in which case mortgage payments will come down, but at the same time, living standards will collapse. So these two options are both pretty bad. At the moment, we're filming this video, it's during the Conservative Party conference. There's basically carnage in the Conservative Party and we don't quite know which way they're going to go. So we'll probably do another update sooner. Either way, it's like a disaster for ordinary families, but one way also really hits mortgage owners and the other way doesn't. The next question is on, I should probably just finish off on interest rates. I still think in the medium term, both inflation and interest rates will come back down. The reason I think that is we're seeing an absolute strangling of the middle class here. And ultimately, if the middle class don't have money, then it's very difficult to see inflation stay high on a sustained level, because whilst the very rich are getting much richer, there's only so much these guys basically can consume. But like I say, that is contingent that the government is not able to keep running massive deficits. If the government does do that, then I think we'll see inflation and interest rates stay high. So as you see, it's difficult at the moment to make a clear prediction because it very much depends on government policy. I'm an economic forecaster, not a political forecaster, and it depends on what governments are going to do. So that moves us on to house prices. As I've said, it's almost certain that in the next year, we'll see a big increase in interest rates on mortgages. We've already seen a lot of mortgages be pulled off the market entirely. That makes it very difficult for ordinary people to buy homes because they're normally dependent on large mortgages. That would also squeeze the spending power of ordinary families who already have large mortgages. Because of this, I can very much understand that a lot of people are predicting big falls in the housing market. And I think, particularly in the short term, there are chances that we do see falls, or at the very least a slowdown in the rise. Largely because if people believe the prices are falling, prices will fall, but also because simply a lot of people are not able to get mortgages. I think what is missing in that analysis, and what is commonly missing in analyses of what is happening in the economy since COVID, is that the simple fact that the rich are stacking up so much money here. That £150 billion that has been given out in the recent budget, largely to energy companies, that will end up in the bank accounts of the people who own the shares of the energy companies, who are wealthy people, right? So that's another £150 billion into the bank accounts of the rich, on top of the £600 billion which has already been given to the rich in the last 3 years. That's a total of £750 billion. That's an enormous amount of money. That's £15,000 for every adult in the country. That means, again, 200, 300 grand per person for richer people. So even though you can't afford your mortgage and you can't get a mortgage, you are competing with the very rich to buy houses, and they are just seeing this enormous flow of cash coming from the government. So ultimately, what the rich people do when they're given cash, they buy assets. It's the main thing that they buy because, they already have very high spending. They don't need to spend much more. So ultimately, in a sense, we are repeating the mistakes of COVID, which is we're trying to solve a problem which is caused by inequality by giving cash out in such a way that it increases inequality. And And that means that we will continue to see this massive accumulation of cash by the rich. And because of that, I can't see houses doing anything in the medium to long term other than going up in price. And that is simply because we are giving so much money to the rich. And you could see this sort of nightmare combination of it being harder to get a mortgage and house prices going up, which basically will continue this trend we've seen for the last 15 years now, or maybe even 20, 25 years, of it becoming increasingly impossible for people from ordinary families to get property. Because, in the last 10, 15 years, it has been possible, if you have a very good job and a very high income and you save for a long time, to buy a house on your own income. It's very, very difficult by using large mortgages. But increasingly, you as somebody from an ordinary family will be competing with cash buyers from richer families because they're accumulating so much more cash. So this is a very counter-consensus prediction at this point. I think in the next year, really anything could happen to house prices. I think there's definitely chances of a fall. But I think in the next 3, 4, 5 years, I think we will see big increases in house prices. And I think that is just because people are not really getting to grips with, and it's totally understandable if you think about it, because most people are not seeing this big increase in cash balances. People are not quite understanding just how much cash is being accumulated by the rich here. And those rich people will use that money to buy your houses or the houses that your kids need. So once again, very pessimistic predictions here on Gary's Economics, but unfortunately I'm the guy who keeps being right on these things. So interest rates will go up. They'll probably come back down again, but that's only if government moves into a more austerity space, which will be a devastation for ordinary people's living conditions. Mortgages will become harder to get, but houses will become more expensive. Another devastation for ordinary living conditions. The only way to stop this and move to a better outcome of better living conditions, better affordability of living, better affordability of housing, would be to tax the rich, who of course have accumulated an enormous amount of money in the last 3 years. If we were to tax the rich, just to bring them as rich as they were before COVID, we could give every single adult in the country £12,000. We could easily fix this problem. But at the moment, the media is not really talking about that as a solution. The Conservative government is, of course, not talking about that as a solution, which is why we really need to push the message. This is solvable if we tax the rich. If we don't tax the rich, then life will get worse. It will be your lives and your kids' lives that will get worse. So, help us spread the message that we can fix things, but only if we tax the rich. Because at the moment, it's not on the agenda. We need to get on the agenda. I speak to people behind the scenes in the Labour Party, and they say to me, look, we'll support it if people support it. So, I need you guys to support it, and then I can try and convince these guys to do it. I don't trust them 100%, but at least we can try and get them to move. So yeah, support this message, share the video, like, comment, that gets it more seen. But yeah, the picture is bleak, but you need to know the reality of the situation and realistic prediction of what's going to happen. But it can be fixed, but only if we get taxing the rich on the agenda, and it's not on the agenda. So I'm going to keep talking about it, and I would like you to talk about it more too, because that is the only way to bring us to a future that is better for ordinary families. Okay, thank you. Like, subscribe, share. See you later. If you get a bit more money and the rich get a lot more money, you will become poorer. And you need to have a policy which actively focuses on reducing energy consumption of the rich and supports the poor, and it's not there.